Welcome to the Kwibuka podcast, written by Dr. Jean Damascene Bizimana, minister at Minubumwe, and recorded by Josue Ishema. After years of research, he has collected and compiled information on different actions that led to the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. In this segment, we will talk about the contribution of independent media on the preparation and execution of the 1994 genocide. The avowed role of Kinyamateka in Rwandan politics and ethnic bias dates back to 1956, a time when it was led by Gregoire Kayibanda, who used it in the 1950s to spread the ideas of the Parmehutu. On December 21, 1963, President Kayibanda delivered a speech full of rage and hatred, stigmatizing the Tutsi and even threatening them with the possibility of genocide. Kayibanda expressed it as follows: "You remember that in 1959 and 1960, some Rwandans, during the time of the Tutsi, fled democracy and became Inyenzi. In the last days of December, at night, Inyenzi arrived in Bugesera. They advanced to near the Kanzenze bridge that we had just built over the Nyabarongo. Other Inyenzi units that had regrouped on other borders, when they learned that those who had infiltrated Bugesera had been defeated, dragged their feet. Most of them returned to where they came from. It was at this moment that the government decided to arrest the collaborators of Inyenzi and put them in prison to preserve the safety of the population living with them, so that the people who chose democracy and worked for its progress would not be excessively excited against certain Tutsi who opposed the democracy that would be the culture of Africa. I sent a minister to each prefecture to help the prefect and his assistants. You know that many citizens were angry because of the wickedness of the madmen who led the Inyenzi who attacked the country to slow down its development." On April 15, 1964, Kinyamateka published Kayibanda's bloodthirsty speech in full as if it were conducting a propaganda. However, in the years of 1980 to 1985, Kinyamateka, led by Father Silvio Sindambiwe, published several very courageous articles denouncing the abuses and crimes of the Habyarimana regime. Father Sindambiwe, after studying journalism in Lille, France, directed the Catholic Church's newspaper Kinyamateka from April 1980 to December 28, 1985. Upon taking over Kinyamateka, he sought to promote the newspaper by working closely with the competent journalists such as Theodore Simburudari, Philbert Ransoni, and Anastase Seruvumba. The articles during the period were appreciated by readers because for the first time, the newspaper dared to denounce the dysfunction prevailing in the country, including corruption or injustices in education and employment. Father Sindambiwe launched a column, Bazumva Ryari, which translates to "When Will They Understand?", in which he criticized abuses of power. Philbert Ransoni is known for his critical article, Kuramya Umubyeyi Nukumuroha, which translated to "Praising the Father of the Nation is hastening his downfall." He highlighted the dictatorial nature of ideological indoctrination that was mandatory through dances and populist songs performed by the population once a week under duress, extolling the head of state and his party. The editorial line that Father Sindambiwe assigned to Kinyamateka prompted the government to ask the Episcopal Council of the Catholic Church for a change in the newspaper's editorial line. The bishops pressured Sindambiwe to stop publishing critical articles about the government. Courageously, Sindambiwe replied that he could not comply and decided to resign on December 28, 1985. Despite this withdrawal, Father Sindambiwe was assassinated on November 7, 1989, shortly after his return from Germany, where he had attended the 15th International Journalism Congress held in Ruhpolding. During this Congress, he extensively denounced the crimes committed in Rwanda. The Rwandan government had sent intelligence agents to silence him, but he did not comply. He took advantage of this opportunity to meet journalists from foreign countries and even Rwandan refugees. Extremists of the Rwandan government then considered him a major enemy to eliminate. His assassination illustrates the dictatorial, terrorist, and criminal policy of the MRND regime and President Habyarimana. In 1980, a journalist from Kinyamateka, Philbert Ransoni, analyzed a speech by the then Minister of Education, Colonel Nsekarije, who declared that the mayor's son had priority access to secondary education compared to a peasant's son, and that he cannot help but grant favors to children from his commune. Ransoni denounced him in these terms. What Mr. Sekarije is saying in Kinyarwanda is referred to as the lion's share. I don't believe that this lion's share is acceptable in a democratic country because access to education is a right for everyone. The problem of access to education is a tango. Admission to secondary education should be based solely on the criterion of competence. The policy of balance deserves to be carefully reviewed because it has become a piece of dark curtain with which the eyes of peasants who cultivate the land, the source of revenue benefiting only the rich, are blindfolded. On June 6, 1983, the Central Committee of the MRND stubbornly maintained the policy of discrimination in education. Following this decision, a journalist from Kinyamateka, Theodore Simburudari, published an article criticizing it, demonstrating that it was unjust. He expressed it as follows: "The Central Committee has reaffirmed that regional and ethnic balance is one of the fundamental principles of the Second Republic. Some people think that the balance policy is not necessary. What would be useful for the country is to base admission to education or employment on the competence of each person." In another issue of the newspaper, a regular reader named Mvugirabandi expressed his disapproval of the discriminatory policy in education. He stated, "There are families that have no one to read newspapers to them. Why don't they also benefit from this balance when their neighbor has 5 children in secondary school?" Journalist Felicien Semusambi, in various articles published in Kinyamateka, also addressed this topic, hoping that the balance policy would be abolished. He stated, "I support the idea that these brilliant children receive education wherever they are and that the balance be abolished. The reason that leads me to associate with those who wish to banish balance is that its motivation, national unity, are not respected. In fact, some have instrumentalized it to commit injustices." In 1987, another Kinyamateka reader, Alexis Durangwa, wrote a paper clearly condemning the policy of discrimination in education and employment. He stated, "I notice that people have just realized the harmful effects of balance. Words are not actions. The implementation of balance in education and the civil service is currently reprehensible and threatens peace and national unity. Balance encourages divisions. Balance should be abolished because it is irrational whether it's ethnic or regional balance, there is no difference. Balance benefits the rich who wants to share the limited resources available to the country. Balance also leads to a form of revenge. It seems to imply that there are regions and even ethnicities that have more intellectual capacity than others. Ethnic balance must be abolished because it divides us. It sows divisions within the country. It cannot be well applied when it has no foundation." Many other articles published in Kinyamateka condemn discrimination in education and employment. Useful references include the following issues: number 1143 of November 2nd, 1982, numbers 1144 and 1145 of December 1982, number 1308 of October 1984, numbers 1132 and 1133 of June 1987, number 1265 of December 1987, number 1275 of May 2nd, 1988, number 1310 of November 1st, 1989, The aforementioned issue reported that individuals from only two communes in the Gisenyi prefecture, namely Karago and Giciye, where several high authorities originated, occupied more places in secondary school than all the combined communes of the Kibuye, Kibungo, and Cyangugu prefectures. Furthermore, these two communes exceeded the number of places occupied by the 10 communes of the Butare prefecture combined. This example illustrates how the balance policy oppressed the children of the ordinary citizens, especially those of Tutsi and Hutu from the south, west, and east of the country. The discriminatory policy began to be abandoned in 1992 when the late Agatu Bizimana became the Minister of National Education, precisely when opposition parties entered the government. In 1990, Kinyamateka was the newspaper with the largest number of readers distributed throughout the Rwandan Catholic Church parishes. Kinyamateka was led by Father Andre Sibomana from 1989 to 1998. It was during this period that the newspaper's tone shifted to the worse by allowing the publication of extremist articles. Father Sibomana claimed to defend human rights, but in reality, he openly displayed his bias for the MDR Parmehutu. The articles published in Kinyamateka between October 1990 and March 1994 propagated the MDR party and slandered the RPF and the Tutsi. When the RPF Inkotanyi launched the Liberation War in October 1990, the Habyarimana government spread the dogma that every Tutsi is an accomplice of the RPF and therefore an enemy of Rwanda. Kinyamateka supported this line. Thus, Kinyamateka issue number 1338 published an article openly attacking the Tutsi. The article stated, "In the country, there are those who support their refugee brothers and are determined to support them in order to overthrow the republic. Some Tutsi support these attacks because they hope to be reinstated in power and seek revenge. Another reason that leads Tutsi to falsify their ethnicity is to be able to infiltrate and easily become accomplices of the Inyenzi, as some, who I do not want to name, have succeeded in doing so." In February 1991, Kinyamateka issue number 1339 made similar statements to those broadcasted in Imvaho issue number 881. The statements are the following. "The Ibyitso in the country play a major role in these expeditions. Some even say they're in the spheres of power. Serious investigations should be conducted that will lead to the suspension of those who were promoted in the positions published in Imvaho issue number 881. Thus, they will have beheaded the Inkotanyi. It has been said and not denied that regarding the funds the Inyenzi used to buy weapons to exterminate us, a portion was collected in Rwanda through the Ibyitso." This was the first time the word exterminate was used. Kinyamateka falsely attributed to the Tutsi the plan to exterminate the Hutu and called for mobilization using legitimate defense. Kinyamateka issue number 1339 even went so far as to warn the Hutu to be wary of the Tutsi women. "They transport cartridges and charms," they said. Here, we also find the 10 Hutu commandments published in Kangura. Kinyamateka issue number 1340 thanked the population for playing an important role in collaborating with the Rwandan army in the fight against the enemy and its accomplices. The article states, "The capable Rwandans collaborated with the Rwandan army in the fight against the enemy, whether in tracking down the Inyenzi and other initiatives, in the enlistment in the army for young men, in financial contribution, or even in publication explaining the nature of the Inyenzi problem." In November 1990, Kinyamateka issue number 1331 headlined, "There are traitors who rushed to welcome these enemies of Rwanda." According to the newspaper, anyone who was in Rwanda and showed the slightest sympathy for the Inkotanyi was considered an enemy. The following month, the front page of issue number 1332 read, "The enemies of Rwanda who invaded us are called Inkotanyi." This term, enemies of Rwanda, was attributed to the Tutsi throughout the war. Issues 1335, 1336, and 1360, for example, use it 20 times. In other articles, Kinyamateka goes even further and uses the word bloodthirsty to describe the Tutsi and the Inkotanyi. Rwigema was nicknamed Rwiroha, meaning the one who commits suicide by drowning, in Kinyamateka issue number 1034. Issue number 1332 also discusses Rwigema's death, explaining how Rwandans rejoiced even at Nyakibanda Major Seminary. It states, "These young men preparing for the priesthood cursed him with a spiritual force from the depths of their hearts, exclaiming, 'Rwigema, son of a dog.'" Kinyamateka, issues number 1339 and 1344 contained several articles that slandered the Tutsi and the refugees, as noted below. It is clear that the Inkotanyi and the Inyenzi fled the revolution, the advent of democracy and the victory of the majority people in 1959, and they have never accepted that power be in the hands of the majority people. They have been contaminated by the new cultures of foreigners, implying they can no longer integrate into Rwanda. Rwandans abroad must understand that what is useful for them is to live harmoniously with the population of the countries that welcomed them. In other words, they must forget about returning to their country. Kinyamateka issue number 1344 warns the Tutsi that the majority people will not tolerate the enemy winning. It states, "I affirm that this war is an ethnic war, rooted in the population revolution of 1959. The Inkotanyi have targeted the Hutu and proudly remind them that they caused the exile of their fathers and grandfathers. This war is a war of the Tutsi to regain the power that the population revolution confiscated from them. This war is a war that the Tutsi have provoked to revenge against the Hutu for the acts they committed against the Tutsi in 1959, 1963, and 1973. The Hutu forget that the Tutsi will never lower their weapons until they take back power to seek revenge, except that the large number of Hutu will be an obstacle." Kinyamateka has come to rejoice in the war. They stated, "To some, misfortune is good. This war has restored the unity of the Hutu." This was published in issue number 1338. This opinion, expressed in 1991, was echoed by Kangura, RTLM, and the SEDER party. Kinyamateka issue number 1341 added, "Parties based on ethnicity, religion, profession, and region do not pose a problem." Kinyamateka was the first to demand the rebirth of the MDR Parmehutu. While suggesting that the word Parmehutu be abolished, it stated, "May our dear party be regenerated." This was stated in Kinyamateka issue number 1340. It was notably specified in this article that one of the merits of the Parmehutu is that it does not force Rwandans into impossible unity. Kinyamateka issue number 1339 also propagated a culture of hatred and division among Rwandans. It stated, "Personally, I cannot imagine unity between the invaders and the invaded. Authorities should jump on this gift that God offers to Rwanda and henceforth shield the Hutu from any division because it is an enemy's trap." After the foundation of the MDR, Kinyamateka issue number 1351 was the first to publish its political program. No other party had this opportunity. This campaign in favor of the MDR is the same as the propaganda of Palipehutu disseminated in issues 1354 and 1355 of the journal. In general, Kinyamateka leaned towards the Parmehutu movement by highlighting the merits of Kayibanda. It stated, "This country had a hero who demonstrated that one can conquer power with no other ambition than the development of the country and its inhabitants. He can be none other than His Excellency Gregoire Kayibanda, President of the First Republic." This was published in Kinyamateka issue number 1411 of February 1st, 1994. When the MDR was split into two factions, Kinyamateka issue number 1408 of January 1994 supported the power faction. The newspaper openly sided with Jean Kambanda the following month, proclaiming that his opinions are more valid than those of the other faction. Kinyamateka, issue number 1411, supported the idea that the genocide could be a solution to the war and that it was imminent. The statement was as follows: "Unspeakable atrocities are being prepared and will erupt like a volcano." In essence, Kinyamateka had become the crucible of the genocidal ideology. After the assassination of President Dadaye, Kinyamateka journalists became agitated and wrote articles calling for revenge. The statement was as follows: "What threatens Burundi threatens Rwanda. Dadaye's murderers steal from us the helm we still need. We, friends of democracy, become orphans. The thirst that Dadaye bequeaths to us, no one will quench." This was published in Kinyamateka issue number 1404. Addressing issues related to Rwanda, Kinyamateka adopted the same language as the government regarding the persecution of Tutsis, labeling it media sensationalism. Regarding the massacres of Tutsi in Bugesera, Kinyamateka issue number 1390 stated, "Making noise about the events in Bugesera as if the Inkotanyi did not kill human beings." After the signing of the Arusha Accords, Kinyamateka published articles suggesting that the war had gone on for too long and proposed several solutions to end it definitively. One of these solutions was the preparation of the genocide. It stated, "There are several ways to resolve conflict. One is that one party can defeat the other party or exterminate it. Currently, this is not possible." Although Kinyamateka pretended to backtrack by saying that this was not possible. The journal, however, indicated that genocide could be a solution to the problem of war. This text came out at a critical moment when the parties in the Hutu power faction were fanatical. The newspaper Isibo opposed the government and the MRND party. Its founder, Sixbert Musangamfura, originally from Nyamagabe commune in Gikongoro, is currently in charge of foreign relations within the extremist FDU Inkingi party of Victoire Ingabire Umuhoza. It cannot be asserted that all articles in Isibo conveyed hatred and the ideology of genocide. However, a few articles veered towards this line. For example, in an article published in Isibo, issue number 6 on January 10, 1991, titled "Umututsi muri iki gihe cy'inkotanyi," which translates to "The Tutsi in these moments of the RPF Inkotanyi War," journalist Sixbert Musangamfura developed what he called the commandments that should guide our daily behavior. These commandments numbered 10, similar to those of Gitera in 1959 and those of Kangura in December 1990. They targeted the Tutsi, but he divided them into two parts, one concerning the Hutu and the other concerning the Tutsi. The commandments concerning the Hutu were as follows: have a forgiving heart for the acts committed by the Tutsi. Stop considering the Tutsi as an implacable enemy. Give the Tutsi the opportunity to approach you and collaborate with him. Continue on the path of coexistence with the Tutsi. Monitor the Tutsi who clings to his opinions so that he does not contaminate the healthy people. Let the Tutsi inside the country avoid the bad advice of his brother in exile. Let the Tutsi stop using the back door. Let him use the front door. Let the Tutsi stop standing out wherever he is. Let the Tutsi stop despising the Hutu. Let him calm down and cohabit with the Hutu. Let the patriotic Tutsi help the government repatriate his conservative brothers who hide malice and cunning. Musangamfura's laws attribute all vices to the Tutsi. Even the first part concerning the Hutu addresses the Tutsis because it attributes the origin of the problems faced by Rwanda. The gravity of these commandments is better understood by reading the following paragraph, which openly calls for hatred against the Tutsi. The paragraph states, "Some say that we need another revolution like 1959 so that we can have another 30 years of prosperity. The machete of 1959 awakened many Tutsi. Most of us know the events that followed. Why can't we, who wants to build the country collaborate with all those who have awakened and permanently heal the scars. Whoever does not believe in this advice wants to keep our country in recurring wars. This language openly calls for the perpetration of genocide by citing the example of massacres of 1959. To write that the machete of 1959 awakened some Tutsi is to rejoice in the massacres committed at that time, acknowledging that they were useful. This language can only lead to the horrors of genocide. Surely, the author of Isiwo's 10 Commandments was aware of this and believed in it. Another article by Musanga Mfura published in this journal calls for the commission of genocide. It is explicitly written, "If we do not exterminate the Tutsi, they will exterminate us." Musanga Mfura knew what he was saying. His sad prophecy of the extermination of the Tutsis came true from April 7, 1994. May they rest in peace. Check out the rest of our podcast and share them with others